Deadpool is a title developed by Moon Studios and published by Activision. You may remember Moon Studios for their work in Transformers War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron. If there's one thing that can be said about Moon Studios, is that they sure as hell know how to respect and bring the best out of the licensed content they're given. It's a shame Activision shut down the studio on the completion of Deadpool. The premise of Deadpool is simple. You are Deadpool, the merc with the mouth, the wild card. You're insane and you're starring in your own game. Go kill stuff and look awesome while you're doing it. If you can't tell, this isn't a serious game by any means. It's meant to be played to have fun, laugh at the jokes, and be entertained by the story, the characters, and the situations you get into. I'm not going to describe anything, as I wouldn't want to spoil it, but if you're into the Deadpool character and his wacky personality, then you will love this game for its story and dialogue alone. I personally played the game on its highest difficulty, Ultra Violence mode. I had a feeling that, with it being a somewhat mainstream spectacle fighter, it would be a little easy on the normal difficulty. With the game cranked up to its highest setting, I was very pleased with the results. A spectacle fighter where the risk of dying was very real, and I had to apply my own skills and awareness to what was going on. Please be aware that any statistics I use are going to be for the Ultra Violence difficulty. The combat comprises of Deadpool against a variety of enemies, sword wielders, gun toters, and of course a wide variety of mutants. You use a combination of melee, guns, and explosives in order to combat them, all of which can be used as part of combos, and you can also use Deadpool's teleportation device to dodge attacks and counter. The combat is fluid and contains a combo meter and a resource called Momentum. Momentum is used to activate your special moves, with a separate meter for each move currently at your disposal. There are a wide variety of special moves which are unique to the weapon you're using. This is certainly where the spectacle part of Spectacle Fighter comes in. There's actually a variety of gameplay as well, from challenging turret stages to simple stealth gameplay to hilarious QTEs. This is probably the one game where I am not complaining about the amount of QTEs. Never did I ever expect to be playing rock, paper, scissors in Deadpool. The game's main feature is its upgrade system. You use points called DP in order to unlock new weapons, special moves, abilities, and traits for Deadpool. As you upgrade more and your arsenal expands, you find yourself becoming more and more powerful through the concept of options alone. However, this is where the issues come in. In this game there are enemies with guns, and these guns are extremely powerful. 2 assault rifle users can kill you outright provided they are given the line of sight, and 1 can kill you outright if you're in close range. This can happen as they can catch you out when you're off guard, while you're focusing on another group of enemies. Only on the second stage of the game I found that because I had chosen to focus on upgrading my swords because I was so enjoying the sword play of the game so much, I had completely neglected buying other weapons other than my starting pistols. This meant that I had hardly any ammo against an entire gauntlet of assault rifle toting enemies. The only reason I managed to progress through that part of the game is by running past the enemies that were left after taking out as many as I could. This is a massive flaw in the game in my opinion. Yes, give the player the option to customize how you want to power up your character, but don't then punish the player for not choosing the correct power-ups for the coming stages. At another part much later in the game, where I was extremely powered up, I found myself at a point where I was completely lacking in ammo and facing a bunch of extremely powerful mini-bosses and ranged enemies. Not only was this part extremely difficult, any ammo I did have I quickly lost because the game refused to refresh my ammo to its previous state every time I died. Instead, any ammo I collected, which was very little, was carried over across the death. I don't know whether this is a purposeful decision by Moon or not, but in my opinion it breaks the game. I went so quickly from enjoying the hell out of the game to being infuriated by a flying guy shooting electricity at me while I tried to navigate a ton of floating rocks in a wide open area. It wasn't that it was challenging, it's because it was unfair. The boss fights in Deadpool are quite varied, facing a variety of mutants and other enemies. No 2 fights are the same. Enemies are reused but in more interesting and unique ways. From what I've heard, on normal difficulty the bosses are rather boring and none taking more than a minute to defeat. While I can say that they become a lot more entertaining on Ultra Violence difficulty. You have to play the long game, moving in and out of attacks and making the most of openings. I was reminded a lot of Dark Souls during a lot of these encounters. They were completely fair, but one wrong move and that would be it, time to start over. Personally, the boss fights were a highlight of the game for me. So, solid but somewhat simple combat, a fun story with hilarious dialogue, and enough variety of gameplay and comedy to keep you entertained in between the bread and butter normal combat. This game also brought me in at 11 hours, although remember this is on ultra violence difficulty, and I would say I got properly stuck in areas for a total of 1 hour to 1 hour and 30 minutes. The game also has a challenge mode similar to the likes of Batman Arkham City, where you fight waves of enemies. There are also achievements for challenge runs of the game, one of the most impressive being I Am Deadpool, which is to beat the final stage of the game from start to finish using only swords and pistols. I was pleasantly surprised at Deadpool. I knew I would love the writing, but I ended up loving the gameplay just as much for the majority of the time. Don't come to Deadpool looking for anything serious, but do come if you're after a spectacle fighter that reeks of polish and excellent comedic writing. I decided to give Deadpool an 8 out of 10.